Hey. I'm here with my hair crazy. This is what happens when I comb out my curls. So, um, I'm really tired. I'm not getting proper sleep because I'm literally thinking all the time. And even in my sleep, I'm thinking. And what I'm hearing is that there are a lot of people actually feeling the exact same thing. And I do believe it's because we are all under so much stress and we are really all connected. But, the way we have been taught, conditioned to believe is that everything is separate, and you're there and you're there and I'm here and we're different units, or we're different beings. But the reality is that while we're different, we're still all connected. There's still a line that runs in all of us, and we have to come to that. We have to find that. We have to know this, and I'm always feeling very conflicted in the message that I want to put out because I want to talk about business. I want to talk about how to set up a business. I want to talk about the importance of a business. I want to help people shorten the learning curve and not make the same stupid mistakes that I made that cost me a lot of money, time, self-confidence, self-esteem, you know. Um, if I can help one person shorten that learning curve, then that's like aces. But by the same token, I also want to talk about how we're all connected and how that is a direct connection to business because being in business for yourself buys you the freedom of yourself, of your money, of who controls your purse strings, of who controls your time and who controls what is accessed, right? Because if you're constantly thinking about my boss, my boss, my boss, instead of knowing I am the boss, I have the power, I have control, that starts to seep in to your psyche and how you see yourself in the world. Everything is connected. Business, life, the universe, your children, the air that surrounds you, the water that you drink, the music that you listen to, the things that you watch, the internet, the social media, and what you follow on social media, and how that plays into your brain, and how your brain is formed and reformed, and how you learn things, and how you unlearn things, and how your neurons are connected. I mean, everything is connected. And I realize that I look like a crazy woman, and so this looks like the rantings of a crazy woman, but I promise you I'm not. And the crazy that I am, I'm proud to be, so it's okay. But it I could talk about this all the time, like ad nauseum for you. I could get into this and make all kinds of connections where a lot of people don't see connections. And I think not seeing those connections is very dangerous because it then limits you to your power, to how much power you have. 2 weeks ago, I did an Anthony Robbins event. And then I was doing a Grant Cardone event at the same time and then past the Anthony Robbins. And what I noticed in the events was the energy that was being put out by the people and how we were all connected, even though we were at this event virtually, right? Like you could feel the energy in yourself because you could see it in other people and you can communicate with these people in the breakout rooms. And there was engagement and there was talking and there was energy. The vibe changed and it was powerful. And what's happening right now with the masks and the tattling on each other, tattling, that tells you how old I am, the telling on each other if you don't wear a mask, or the looking at each other funny, or the staying separate, or maybe the lockdowns where they're now in other countries limiting people to getting together, the rule of six. You have to understand that each of us is a harness of power. And then you put us together. We are like this giant battery, right, of power. And when we start engaging, even if we disagree, when we start engaging and we start exchanging ideas, we become this beautiful, amazing flow of lights and color and energy and feeling, right? I can only describe it in simple terms because I'm a lay person and I don't know all these fancy words, this fancy verbiage to express how amazing the power that we have is. But we keep giving our power away. We keep waiting for a system to come save us that's never going to save us. The reality is that that system enslaves us and teaches and reteaches that you must depend on something completely outside of yourself in order to be yourself. And that's ludicrous. It's why I took my daughters out of school, because I wanted them to understand that power was within and never outside, right? And it's still hard to teach them these things because I have family who still believes that power and acceptance, validation lies outside, as opposed to it just comes from within. And that is when you are your most powerful. And so that's why a lot of people think I'm crazy. Because I'm like, well, if I offend you, good. What did I offend you on? Tell me. How did I offend you? So that I can offend you some more with truth. But we have to become independent. We are at a very dangerous time right now. We're either going to allow ourselves to be taken over. And in taking over, I'm talking about they are going to put hardware, software as well, in our bodies, in our minds. And so our thoughts will never be ours. It's already begun with this tool that I'm talking on right now, right? And so we have to separate ourselves from these things that are seeping into our brain. You have to read. You have to read more books. You have to touch things. You have to open and you have to read, right? You don't need this to give you the information. Yes, it gives you lots of information, but if it is your only source of information, then you are still at a disadvantage, okay? Because there's so much influence happening and there's so much monitoring going on with this tool that we're using, which is why I keep encouraging people to find me outside of social media. I want to have real conversations outside of social media. I want to build outside of social media. I think this has a shelf life for before it goes into a realm of absolute control. We've already crossed many boundaries by censorship. We're already there. Like we're at Big Brother status, or we've been there, right? But now it's getting to the point where the important information that needs to get to you is not getting to you at all. It's being censored. And if this is your source of information, then your view of the world is going to be skewed. And it's going to be done with purpose, on purpose. A message will be put into your brain, into your thought pattern, to create a behavior that is not divine or innate within you. It is going to be behavior by design. All I have is bullet points here, but everything I'm saying is just flowing because I don't want to be scripted. And if you see me as crazy, it's cool, You have to move away from social. We have to reteach ourselves how to become communities, right? And we have to remember that in the time of slavery, there was like a double language happening, which is why a lot of times if you go into homes where Santeria is practiced, you will see that there are images of saints and then Santeria worship side by side. And sometimes the Santeria is masked by the Catholicism, the Christianity, right? Because back in the day, there was a speaking in code. We might have to get back to that. We might really have to get back to that to communicate with each other and to be able to decipher who it is that understands and is speaking our language, speaking our vibe. We might have to go back to that, unfortunately, but we have to step into our power because no one is coming to save us. No one is coming to save us. We have to take back our own sovereignty. We have to learn the laws that are on the land. We have to learn the laws that they are putting on us. And we have to learn how to legally circumvent those laws. Legally, right? We have to get smart. We have to start thinking like the 1%. Because the 1% knows things that the average Joe does not. And so we have to start thinking about them. There is nothing wrong with entering into something through a loophole that was designed for the person savvy enough to know about the loophole. There is nothing wrong with taking advantage of every opportunity that is given to you, even if it wasn't put into your community, but somehow you happen to be savvy about it. There is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with gaming the system with their own games. I almost cursed. With their own games. You have to understand that the oppressor, the colonizer, is coming into our community all the time and taking, and never giving back. And then when we demand that they give back, it's like we're asking for a favor. Meanwhile, they come and they rape the culture. They rape the language. It becomes part of their language. They rape the music and make it theirs. And then they embed it with frequency that messes with us physically, spiritually, mentally, right? Recently, there was a Wells Fargo guy that said that they can't do diversity because there isn't enough talent. I'm going to call total bullshit. And I'm going to say that the culture that we live in right now, I'm from the Bronx, and so the birthplace of hip-hop is the Bronx. How has hip-hop changed the world? How has hip-hop influenced everything? Everything. It's changed everything. And it started in the Bronx amongst Blacks and Latinos. And yet, you want to talk about there's not enough talent for diversity? How about the blues? Music, you can hear soul in the music, but there's no diversity? How about all these designers that take from melanated culture, but there's no diversity? Do you understand? Crazy? That's real crazy that we would believe these things, right? How about all the inventors that today we use so many things because of the black, the melanated inventors that created them, that had the invention, the patent, the name, the idea stolen from them by someone who had money and who had this kind of complexion. So we have to think back into history because we're in a more dangerous time, I think, now, because so many of us don't even realize that we're slaves. So many of us don't even realize. See, back in the day, when people were fighting for their freedom, they knew what they were fighting for because it was black and white. Now we have all shades of gray. And we don't know what we're fighting for because the enemy has seeped into the culture and is manipulating us from within. And anyone who speaks like me or similar to me is crazy, is a troublemaker, is negative, is a pessimist, is militant. And it's nothing of the sort. I just love all my people, and I want us to be the ones that survive, because it will be us that will be annihilated when all these changes come into full play. 2020 wasn't about a virus. It was about a setup where a virus was used to create a narrative. And if you just pay attention to the world that changed while you were locked in your house, afraid, if you just pay attention to the fact that human behavior is shifting and we are becoming a world where we're clashing, and black and white is being used to control the narrative, because humans are creatures of emotion and habit. Once you start realizing these things, once you are aware, the veil becomes lifted and you start to see the game that's being played. And you no longer want to engage in that game. This is a long video, but I'm speaking because I love my people. And I really want us to wake up. I want us to wake up and understand that our power, and I'm not just talking about symbolic power, I'm talking about physical prowess, mental prowess. What we hold in our bodies is immense. It's amazing. It's miraculous. It's divine. It's universal. When you start tapping into that, you become unfuckable with. So, become.